Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, Rays, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Kingdom Hearts adjustments to both Sora and Cloud. And the global side isn't up yet, so I basically just have to use the JP side, which is perfectly fine because I can show off a little bit of the character sprites and whatnot on the JP side, so that's fine. This is all fine. But before I start this video, I do want to make a little bit of a comment about the news videos yesterday. The news videos was not to talk about what is being labeled as a nerf. And I'm just going to say this right now. If you think that Glbl was going to get the exact same thing that the Japanese side got, you are undeniably just being unreasonable and a little bit foolish. Because the JP side is just so much more advanced power-wise than the global side is. So of course, both Sora and Cloud, when they came to the global side, would be, more adjusted to what that side is. The news also came out that while these versions of both Sora and Cloud are weaker than the JP side, they will be adjusted into the future to be more along with the JP terms once they reach that point in the kind of meta. So for everyone who's freaking out, calm the fuck down. It's not worth it. It's not worth getting in a tizzy over this. And if it is, really rethink your life, because there are more important things to worry about than that. With that being said, let's take a look at him. Chose some nice calming Kingdom Hearts music, because I think some people out there do need to calm down a bit. But obviously Sora and Cloud were very, very powerful when they came out on the JP side. They weren't necessarily the top tier, however. It really depended on equipment to see what you can make of both of them. Now, of course, what we are looking at for Sora, for example, on the JP side, is basically a true dual-wield unit that is essentially very, very, very reliably a triple cast chainer. And while there is some things to note about Sora essentially being most of his modifiers being weaker, it's interesting how much they left intact for Sora. And what exactly do I mean by that? Well, taking a look at Sora's adjustments, they don't feel really that bad for most stuff, and particularly in fact of Sora's TMR. Sora's TMR, when it came out, when I saw it for the first time on the Japanese side, was like, wow, this is a really, really good weapon. And it's pretty much untouched as far as I know. Like, I don't see really anything except the true dual wield on it, which getting the true dual wield that we had just wasn't going to happen because that's not the meta on the global side. But Sora's Kingdom Key, 160 attack, 10 elemental resistance, 5% MP recovery per turn. By the way, this weapon is only equipable by Sora. It's not just the ability, it's the whole weapon. And also the Oblivion Keyblade, which you get from the trial, is also the same way. So that is to be considered. But, for the elemental resistance, the MP recovery, and the even the little bit of true dual wield, I'm kind of surprised they left this TMR the way it was. Looking at the Super TMR, a 70% attack with only 20% as opposed to 50% true dual wield, and it's unstackable on the global side. Again, this just feels pretty much in line with where global is. I assume that the Super TMR will be adjusted, and TMR will be adjusted into the future, so I don't think there's really that much to cry about here. Sora's TMR is still really, really good for him, and that is something to kind of be celebrated. Now, of course, building him as a true dual wield on the global side isn't really as possible as it is on the JP side, but I'm still kind of surprised it stayed the way it was. Not only that, but Sora still has natural dual wield, so for a new account on the Glbl side, Sora's pretty damn good. He's a solid chainer. He has a lot of abilities. He has a really strong break. As a matter of fact, I do believe, yeah, even in his 7-star on the Glbl side, still has a 65% stat break on a single target. That's really, really good. That is really, really good. Just looking at, things like that, I really think that Sora was pretty remarkably untouched for a lot of stuff. What else? Active-wise, Vortex, Sonic Blade, Ars Arcanum, and Strike Raid have all been reduced in their damage modifiers, which seems reasonable for the most part. Different modifiers have been reduced for the certain amounts of those. Passive-wise, he does not get the true dual-wield chaining up ability. It makes no sense. No other unit in Glbl has it. It would totally break a lot in terms of the damage meta on the Glbl side, so that really shouldn't be there. Chosen by the Keyblade has a decrease in attack. Berserk has a decrease in attack. Twin limit upgrade also has a reduce in true dual wield, but Sora still, makes it out pretty good. Limit burst wise, Ragnarok modifier has just been decreased by a fair amount, and the unlock time for triple command has been reduced by a single turn. So now taking a look at Sora, Sora's reductions feel pretty good, not so much good, I should say. That's probably the wrong word, and it probably has triggered some people, but it feels about right. Damage-wise, he should be pretty in line with Glbl, and into the future, he has essentially pretty good enhancements. Keep that in mind. While Sora has been essentially adjusted to be on terms of the power level, later it means that Sora will get boosted, where on the JP side, he is pretty damn strong right now. Top tier, top damage dealer, no, not by any means, but definitely a reliable damage dealer, so good for now and good into the future, something that I would say about Sora. Here's my recommendation for Glbl people, though. Sora has good breaks. He is a true dual wielder in the future, which will become the meta, and he does have some true dual hand in him, so that's potentially really good. But here's the big difference between Sora being introduced on the Glbl side at this point and being introduced on the JP side. The big difference for JP is the fact that JP Sora has way easier sources of elemental imbue. One of the big problems with Sora is that he has no element to his attacks. You could put it on through true dual wield, but it generally results in a lower stat line than just having the element being put on through a different character. Sora kind of requires that extra step to just be as powerful. Like, for instance, my Sora right now, I have been using these girls who can basically put the holy element on him and allows for holy chaining, and that really boosts a lot of Sora's power. That is a big part of Sora's kit that is missing. While that does mean that he is probably pretty in line damage-wise, putting the element on him is not necessarily easy unless you're going to build him as a dual-wield unit, and dual-wield is not as strong, at least doesn't feel quite as strong at this point on Glbl as maybe true dual hand does. So with Sora, it's kind of a weird thing to recommend him to Glbl people. On one hand, he does have a future. he has a future currently on the JP side, even in our extreme kind of damage meta with CG units. That does mean that he does get a really nice boost later, and quite possibly his Super TMR will also get a really nice boost later. But as for right now, some of the things that he is missing, I'm not sure that Glbl can compensate as well. And the big difference here is that if you look at this unit that I have on screen right now, the big difference between her elemental immune and global elemental immune is that she can do it AoE in a single turn, and it lasts for multiple turns, meaning that it's really not that much of a penalty to have to do that setup. You can do that setup only almost initially, is what I meant to say. And to prove it, since I have a raid orb, let's go in, because this is the raid that you guys will be fighting, although obviously not as difficult. So let's just take... I kind of want to show off, but... may not be able to. Oh, yes, we can. Excellent. All right, so this is the example. Sora just doesn't have elemental chaining, but his best form of chaining in his JP version, and I would assume his global version, although I don't know exactly how good AT chainers are right now. So watch this. Bam, right there. Holy element for the entire team for multiple turns, no problem. Orin does a debuff and a buff on the enemy. We're using Santa Rosalia here just because we want to be mean to this guy. We are going to be using Regina, who is just an amazing damage dealer, but now Sora is able to chain with another AT chainer, but more importantly, elemental. So let's just do this. Wait, and trigger the chain. And yes, she did hit for 2 billion points of damage on her own. My chain finisher, but Sora, this is kind of the thing that Sora needs to be really, really good. He has the damage modifiers into the future to be good. It's just that he really needs that element. Element is the kind of the way you get even better. But his debuff is good. He has some really good abilities, and even though the modifiers are been cut, they're... I don't know. I'll be interesting to see what the numerical calculations are and the demonstrations, but I don't think it's as big of a deal. Now, let's talk about the other character, Cloud. And Cloud is probably the one that's going to be way better on the global side initially. Long term, I'm not so sure about. First of all, Super TMR, the Buster Sword, decreased from 190 attack to 180 attack, so I guess the bandages really don't do that much, but into the future it could be adjusted to be 190 attack, so it's not necessarily the worst thing to get his Buster Sword Super TMR. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if somebody gave it to me on the street. I'd be like, thanks. Anyway, actives, basically a lot of his attacks got their modifiers reduced, which makes kind of, you know, again, sense. Passive-wise, Blackwing Swordsman got reduced in terms of stats, hero and training. The number of Limit Burst crystals per turn got reduced. Those drawn to one's darkness modifiers essentially got reduced again. Conditionals, Cross/Plus got hacked fairly big. Cross/Plus just went down to 12-time modifier. Show Me Your Strength removed modifier from Split Burst and Sonic Blade. And then last but not least, we get into his Limit Burst itself. Omni Slash got its modifier cut, but only by 4 times. And this is where I put a big asterisk about how good I think Cloud is. First of all, I mean, one of the big things that made Cloud so interesting on the JP side was that he did get some chaining, but... And like his Continuum cut was essentially his big chaining ability, and it did have some pretty nice modifiers on it, but it couldn't really compare with some of the other damage dealers out there. Omni Slash, on the other hand, his Limit Burst will really put a strong contention to be the strongest Limit Burst in the game on the JP side. And that was with the addition of Bahamut's Tear, which again is just a top tier solid weapon. Cloud, if you have Bahamut's Tear on the global side, Cloud is a very strong consideration because the modifier that got reduced on his Limit Burst is Not that bad. And of course, JP has a few more materias that are easier to get to up limit burst damage. But I still say that Omni Slash got kind of only a tiny bit adjusted. And I'm not convinced that it didn't get, like, adjusted, like, enough. Because Cloud's limit burst was pretty damn strong. I mean, it's even, like, it's strong on the JP side, but it only got reduced to a 1600%, ignoring 50% defense. I think that this limit burst is still insanely strong, especially because Glbl has access to Bahamut's tier. Some people. So Cloud's 7-hit limit burst, until I see how much damage he can do from his other abilities, while I'm not convinced that those are going to be that great, Omni Slash just might still really be great. And so he's good now. I guess here's the thing to look at towards Kingdom Hearts, and I'm also going to talk about probably what is going to be the next banner on the Glbl side. So looking at Sora and Cloud, they have been reduced. They will get improved into the future about the, when the timing is right. That means that both of these characters do have the potential to last, you in terms of long-term value of usefulness. Exactly how long, kind of depends on what else comes out on Glbl, but it could be that Cloud and Sora still be really good into the future of Glbl, and I think that's a strong part of this banner. And Sora still feels like a pretty damn good unit with a solid break and some good triple cast chaining. Chaining partners as well as elemental imbue might be a bit more of a deal breaker. Looking at Cloud, on the other hand, I think his limit burst is still I think his limit burst might even be too strong for Glbl, but crunch the numbers and I guess we'll see. Obviously, it's very conditional on Cloud needing a super TMR to really be great, and that is something that I always take some flack over when I recommend stuff. But now I need to talk about another banner that is coming into the future and probably is the next banner for Glbl, which is Tifa and Vincent. Now, if you're a fan of Vincent or Tifa, then disregard what I'm about to say. But otherwise, because Tifa into the future she kind of stops, but she probably has a pretty good chance of getting another version when CG Cloud comes out, because that's going to happen eventually on the JP side. Tifa is a pretty damn solid unit in terms of a dual wield that came out before the true dual wield meta. And I wish that she did get that true dual wield ability, because then she'd be considerably stronger. But my actual recommendation is into Vincent for one particular reason. And it was also demonstrated in this video. Vincent's Super TMR. It's 175 attack, basically true dual handgun with really good variants on it. Why am I recommending this? Well, here's the thing. Between now and the time another specific unit comes out, Vincent, you could potentially get 4 Vincents, and getting a Vincent early might not necessarily be a bad idea. If you don't have Vincent and you have 4 CG Jakes, then disregard this message. However, the reason that I recommend this is because their Super TMRs are incredibly useful for this young lady. Well, robot lady. Regina is a true dual hand unit that either gets a projectile or a gun. Getting a Super TMR gun for this girl is pretty damn valuable. Like, Regina is just one of the most valuable units. So I have to put a recommendation into anybody who is thinking about, who wants a very powerful chain finisher into the future. This is one of the most powerful ones, and getting a Super TMR for her is definitely worth it, because she clears a lot of trials. So, remember to plan out your resources wisely. JP players are freaking out right now over the number of banners into the future, quite rightly so. But yeah, definitely think about where you want to spend your resources. Sora and Cloud could be quite valuable just for a long time because they will get boosted and then they will get enhancements after that. So they potentially have a long longevity ahead of them. And I think that there is some really good stuff there still. So yeah, without testing them, without crunching the numbers and all of that, I don't know, still feels good to me. So best of luck if you are going for them. At least you get that free 11 pull, right? So best of luck to all of you. If not, continue saving. There'll be more stuff into the future. And there's only so much lapis to go around. So, thank you very much for watching. See you next time.